Well, hello again, everyone. It's Friday, November 6th, and this is News Project Live on Facebook. Great to have you with us today. Yeah, we survived this week. It certainly has been an interesting one, hasn't it? Um, Obviously, we'll be talking a little bit about some of the national election results and, more importantly, the state and local ones, but I'm sure all of you feel a great sense of relief that we got through the election, at least so far anyway. Still a lot of counting left to be done and a lot of agita surrounding all of that. But I think the good news story is that the process does seem to have worked with all the changes brought about by the pandemic and mail in voting and early voting and just different procedures from what we've all been used to. Um, I think we've got through it pretty well so far. We're not done yet, obviously, but um, been an interesting week, like I said. Anyhow, just to get on to the details here, well, let's start with the national results. Many of you, I'm sure, have been following this fairly closely as well. Vice President Joe Biden earlier this morning looks like overtook President Trump in the voting in Pennsylvania. Those results obviously are not final yet. More votes yet to be counted, and that lead is very narrow. But were that to hold, the 20 electoral votes in Pennsylvania would give Vice President Biden the 270 votes in the Electoral College that would be necessary to win the presidential election. That assuming the lead in Arizona holds, and could also hinge eventually on what the outcomes in Georgia and Nevada are. But um, that's certainly a story we'll be following pretty closely the rest of today, anyway. Um, Locally, the big race that we were following was, of course, the Bennington 4 district. That's the district that includes Manchester, Arlington, Sandgate, and part of Sunderland. As I'm sure you all know by now, there was a three-way contest for the two seats that are in that district, and in the end, Representative Cynthia Browning, one of the two incumbents, lost her bid for what would have been an eighth term in the legislature. She ran as an independent this year, as opposed to as a Democrat. And the team of Representative Kathleen James, the other incumbent, and Seth Bongartz will be the two new representatives for the district come next January when the legislature reconvenes either in Montpelier or remotely or however they wind up doing it. Kathleen James won the most number of votes in the counting. She got almost 2,800. Mr. Bongartz got 2,651, and Representative Browning finished third with 2,111. The other closely contested race that we were following was the one for the state Senate to represent Bennington County, and there the two incumbent state senators, Richard Sears and Brian Campion, both cruised to fairly easy reelection. Let's see, Dick Sears was the leading vote getter with a little over 11,000 votes, followed by Senator Campion with about 10,483. There are two Republican challengers, Meg Hansen and Mike Hall, each received somewhat less than that. Meg Hansen got, let's see, it looks like 6,275 votes, and Mike Hall, the former police chief in Manchester, received 5,657. A fifth candidate, independent candidate Kevin Hoyt, finished far back with 1,943. So the Bennington County delegation in the state Senate will remain the same. Um, Obviously, there was a race for governor and lieutenant governor. No surprise, I guess, to folks who follow this stuff closely, that incumbent Governor Phil Scott handily won re-election over his challenger, Lieutenant Governor David Zuckerman. He won by a gigantic margin. I guess that was the surprising part of it, or at least, well, not surprising perhaps, but the width of that margin was pretty remarkable. I believe it is certainly one of the widest ever. It may be the widest ever. A 40% margin of victory. He got 248,000 votes to about 99,000 for Mr. Zuckerman. Clearly, his management of the pandemic held him in good stead, and voters clearly rewarded him for that. In the lieutenant governor's race, newcomer Molly Gray defeated the Republican candidate Scott Milne. She's a newcomer to the state political scene, but won, fairly handily. 50 to 43% margin, which translates into about 182,000 votes compared to about 157,000 for Mr. Milne. So that will be certainly interesting to see how things shake out in the state house there when this new team arrives. More on that in a second too, but just to finish off some of the other local races, Linda Joy Sullivan, who represents Dorset, Danby, Landgrove, Peru, and Mount Tabor, won re-election. She ran basically unopposed, as did Kelly Piala, who represents Windhall, Jamaica, Stratton, Weston, and Londonderry. They'll both be back. A bit farther north of us, Robin Chestnut Tangerman lost his bid for re-election to the district that includes the towns of Paulet, Tinmouth, Wells, and Middletown Springs. He lost by only 32 votes to Republican Sally Aichi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Lost. Let's see, the margin there was 1,417 to 1,385, and I'm sure there'll be a recount there. It's kind of notable because Representative Changeman was the chairman of the House Progressive Party. He led their caucus, and so if that result holds up, they'll be searching for a new caucus leader. And it probably, aside from the fact of the local stories, statewide, the biggest surprise, I wasn't really surprised, not totally unexpected, but House Speaker Mitzi Johnson lost her race for re-election in her district that basically includes Grand Isle and Milton up north of Burlington by the razor-thin margin of 18 votes. And obviously their recount will be conducted. So that will mean, should that result hold up, that a new House Speaker would need to be named by the Democrats. The overall picture, of course, is that the Republicans did pick up a net gain of 3 seats in the House of Representatives, which may be important because while that still leaves them in a very distinct minority, that shaves the number of Democrats and progressives from 102 to 99, which means they don't have a supermajority or 2/3 majority to override gubernatorial vetoes, and that could be something that will make a difference come the next legislative session. The results do mark a change from 2018 when the Democrats picked up 10 seats in the state house and the Democratic Progressive Caucus combined for 102 members. So it means they'll need to find at least one independent or one Republican to support a veto override should that scenario come to pass. Over in the state Senate, the Republicans did pick up 1 seat there. That was up in the Northeast Kingdom. The Democrats still hold a very large 23-7 majority in the state Senate. So it ain't over yet. Still some interesting races yet to be decided, but the broad contours seem to be in place. And the other, I guess, big story worth noting is that the record turnout, almost 75% of eligible voters in Vermont did cast ballots this year, many by mail or early voting, and also quite a few by the traditional election day at the polling place voting. And it'll be interesting to see how much of that kind of stays in place as a permanent feature, or how much we do go back to traditional voting in 2 years when hopefully the COVID-19 pandemic is an item for the history books. Meanwhile, the governor had his regular Friday press conference today. Uh, Basically, a lot of the focus there was kind of back to managing the pandemic, and the governor and other state officials who spoke at the press conference went to lengths to remind us all that there is an uptick in positive rates and outbreaks going on in the state. 24 new cases here in Vermont since yesterday. But the main message was that was kind of looking ahead to Thanksgiving and the holiday season was to really discourage folks from thinking about having large family gatherings that traditionally might happen at Thanksgiving. If you really feel that you need to have other family members or friends over, try to keep a limit of 10, and that the virus is poised to resurge even further, and getting complacent now is a very bad idea. Um, Dr. Mark Levine, the state's health commissioner in particular, was concerned that a strong second wave is about to hit with rising caseloads and struck kind of a somber note about all of that. Again, discouraging any social gatherings that might be possible to do in some other way. Um, Also reminded us all that it would be a great idea to get a flu shot before Thanksgiving. This year in particular, that would be a great idea. Education Secretary Dan French also spoke at the conference. He seemed to be saying that on the school front, at any rate, the virus has been managed pretty well. And went out of his way to compliment teachers and administrators on their hard work. 11 new cases in various state schools over the last 7 days. A total of 39 new cases in schools reopened in September. Uh, Therefore, they don't think that there's any real need to go back to full-blown remote learning, at least at this point, and that the hybrid measures that are in place seem to be working really well, and that students and other educators are really doing a good job at sort of following all the safety guidelines that we've all heard a lot about over the past 7 months: the face masks, the social distancing, the washing the hands, all of that. But again, he too said, if you don't have to travel anywhere on Thanksgiving, it'd be a great year not to. Um, just a quick note here, actually starting tonight, but I guess it's really going to kick in tomorrow and Sunday, November 7th and 8th. There'll be a shopping promotion here in the Manchester area. Shop safe, shop early, shop local. During this coming weekend, many local businesses will be offering special deals and discounts as a way to encourage visitors and local residents alike to stop by and take advantage of a few bargains um, while crossing some items off your to-do list. Uh, the supply chains being what they are, it's not a guarantee that those of you who sort of tend to defer your Christmas shopping until day before Christmas Eve or something like that, you might not be able to find what you're looking for. If items get sold out early, there's not going to be the same uh, backup of inventory to find that perfect gift for somebody. So shopping early is a good idea while your selection is good, and also all the help the local businesses can get. Uh, that's good too. Um, you can go to the website of the Manchester Business Association, manchestervermont.com, for a list of all the local shops and businesses and what they're offering for this coming weekend. Ski season is sort of, even though it's a beautiful day today, kind of technically speaking, right around the corner. Ordinarily, that would be sometimes a Thanksgiving thing. There will be some new measures in place, though, to kind of monitor how that works. Lift lines will need to be altered so that skiers aren't standing too close together. Chairlifts will be required to hold half as many riders as normally allowed. Probably one passenger per chairlift might be typical. Um, Base lodges will need to stay at 50% of occupancy or have a maximum of 75 people in quote, one unique space, no matter how big, unquote. Um, so, a little more planning ahead, I guess, involved in ski season this year, at least as things are shaping up. And a final note, since we're in Vermont, I have to mention this. Regular deer season starts on November 16th. It would be, what, next a week from Monday. We'll run through till December 1st. We've already had the youth weekend, but that's certainly a right of autumn here in the state. Um, and just one final note, we will be back on November 20th, not next Friday, taking the day off, and we'll see you back then on Friday, November 20th. So meanwhile, stay safe, have a good weekend. This has been Andrew McKeever with the GNAT-TV News Project. Hope you have a great weekend and chance to unwind a bit after the election. Take care, everybody.